Hi guys, my name's Lou and welcome back to the only channel on YouTube with 57 subscribers. Today we're going to be doing something with the Kemper, and we're going to try and recreate Gojira's tone specifically from the album The Way of All Flesh, and we're going to try and recreate it purely with the Kemper. So let's just dive right into it. Okay, so first things first, from what I've heard, Gojira tend to use 5150s and I think EVH amplifiers, but we're just going to go with a 5150. For this, I'm using Jamie King's Voodoo Mod Rhythm 5150, and this is in his Tonecrate package, which you can obviously find on Tonecrate, not sponsored. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and turn this into as Gojira-y a tone as possible. So let's just start off basically with the distortion in the front of the amp. So far the tone just sounds like this, which is a pretty cool tone. But what we're going to do is we're going to put a distortion in the front, and I'm just going to choose the standard metal distortion. And the reason I'm choosing this and not the green screen is because this actually has an EQ with it, and I do want to do a little bit of EQ tweaking. So first off, we don't need too much drive. I would say about 1.7 just to give it that kind of nasty, grindy tone. So we're going to do that. And then we're just going to boost the volume input into the amp by about 0.4. So already it should sound a bit more heavy. Yeah, that sounds nice. So in comparison with the distortion, already sounds a lot more Gojira and a lot more heavy. So the next thing we're going to have a look at is the EQ. Now this amp, because it's a pre-tweaked profile, it's obviously got a bit of EQ tweaking to it, so I'm going to change that about a bit. With like an actual amplifier, it probably would be easy, like, you know, with an actual 5150, it would be easier to get Gojira's tone with that, because the EQs work in specific ways. But with the Kemper, the EQ is kind of very literal. It's pretty much like an EQ you get in a DAW. So what we're going to do is we're just going to try and be very, very clever about how we use it. So I'm going to reduce some bass, probably down to minus 0.7, I think. That should... Oh, are we already in the minuses? We are. Minus 0.7. Right, so I'm going to do that, and that should take out a little bit of the low end. Already sounds much nicer. The mids, they're a bit scooped, but we're going to put that up to 0.2, I think. Because Gojira tend to have quite a bit of mids in their tone. Already sounds a lot more chunky. And with the treble, that's already at plus 0.4. We're just going to leave that there. And with the presence, we're going to tone that down a little bit as well to about 0.5, minus 0.5. I should add. So should sound a bit more Gojira now. Sweet. Right, now we're going to do a little bit more changing in the actual amp area. So the definition on this is all the way up to 10, but we don't want it to be that clear. We want it to be a little bit nasty. So let's turn this down to like 3.1, and that should give it a bit more out of control, a little bit of a cooler sound. So now they've also got a bit of kind of pulsing when they go into the palm mutes, and the way that we can replicate that is with a bit of power sagging, and I'm going to turn this all the way up. So now we can hear a bit of that pulsing, and I'm going to accentuate this with a bit of compression as well, I think. Probably a bit overkill, but let's give it a go anyway. Let's have a bit of fun. Some nice sirens outside if you can't hear that. Sorry if this sounds a bit lower. I'm playing it on a 7-string, so we're playing a drop C riff in drop A. So anyway, I'm going to increase the clarity to about 1.8 because we've reduced the definition, but we can get away with increasing the clarity. It should just make it sound a little bit more clearer, but we don't want to have too much of that in there. So now that we've got this tone, it's very low, it's very chuggy, but some of the low end is a little bit too much. So we're going to add in some EQ. And actually, before we do that, I want to have a look at the cabinet section, because there's a couple of things that you can do here. You can get a really cool tone by messing around with the character, and I sort of interpret the character as kind of like the mic placement. So if you push it all the way over here, you can get a... So that sounds pretty cool, but if you move it there, it sounds like it's a lot closer to the amp. And that kind of, I find, if it's close to the amp, it kind of has a bit more of that Gojira sound, in my opinion. Maybe not too much. Let's back it off a little bit, but it sounds a lot more squishy. It's that kind of cool, squishy Gojira tone. And now we're going to go into the, we're going to do a bit of post EQ. So I'm going to go and find, turn my volume down so I don't interrupt myself. I'm going to go and find the studio equalizer. And first off, I'm just going to take out the lows around 120. Because there's a lot of really nasty lows around there. So I'm going to drop that by about 3 dB, minus 3 dB. And let's have a listen to that. Already sounds a bit better. And then we're going to go into the mids, and we're going to take out some of the 250, because that's also a bit of a nasty frequency that we don't want too much of. So let's take that down by about minus 3 dB as well. But let's tighten the EQ a little bit, I think, because let's just tighten the Q, because we don't want to take out too much around it. Now it sounds a lot better. Now let's go into the next EQ section, and we want to take around... This is the problem that I find with the Kemper and other kind of sort of amp emulators and amp modelers, is they have a lot of really nasty frequencies around the 4,000 hertz. So we're just gonna find 4,000 hertz. Oh, got it right there. Make a really tight Q, and then take that out by 3 dB. Sounds a lot clearer. So now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add in another EQ. I know we've got a lot of EQs. Actually, before we do that, I'm going to do a quick low cut. So like just like a sweep. It's kind of like a high pass EQ kind of thing. And we're going to take that out to about 100 hertz, I think. So this should just help with kind of later when you take it into the DAW, and hopefully you don't have to do so much. So now we're going to add in another EQ just to make this super clear. And all we're going to do here is, I think, just focus on the mids. So I'm going to go to the first one, and I'm going to focus around 1,000 hertz, I think.
Okay, so the audio cut out, so I'm just going to quickly explain what I'm doing here. So I'm doing a cut around 1,000 hertz just to kind of get rid of some of those toppy mids, because a lot of Gojira's MIDI sound is quite low mids. And then what I'm going to do is do a little bit of a boost around 5,500 hertz, and this is just to add a bit of air in now that we've done that cut around 4,000 hertz. That cut around 4,000 is just to get rid of that ice pick frequency usually here in amp modelers. But if you boost around 5,000 hertz, that's kind of like the presence of the guitar sound. So now that we've added in all these effects, this is the final guitar sound.
Okay guys, so this has been my video attempting to recreate Gojira's tone. Obviously don't take it as gospel, there's a bit of leeway and there's a couple of things which could make the tone sound closer as well, such as guitar that you use. Obviously I'm using my PRS 7 string, so it's obviously going to have a different tone. I've got different pickups and I haven't changed my strings in a while, so they're kind of old strings and they sound a little bit bleh. But I expect with some new strings in it'll probably sound a bit closer to the tone because it's got that very kind of bright, twangy sound of new strings on the record. Hopefully, if you're trying to get that Gojira tone, this should put you in the ballpark of it, and just tweak it about and adjust it to your liking. And yeah, if you guys have any suggestions for other tones that I should do with the Kemper, let me know in the comments below. Check me out on Instagram. I put up some stupid posts there now and again. And also my Twitter, I put up a lot of very stupid posts up there. So yeah, if you enjoyed the video, leave a like, subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.